was only months ago that this board and administration discussed the pros and cons of issuing a large bond. I believe it was 18 million, which is really taking a loan on the backs of taxpayers. And at that time, there was discussion that there was cash on hand for repairs, but because of the precarious, unpredictable nature of what's going on in the state of Illinois with the funding, a decision was made to get this loan, that is, issue the bond. And the logic here was to hedge the district against the instability that's out there. But now somehow there's a crystal ball to set a 10-year contract for exact numbers. That doesn't make any sense to me. In other words, you've got a crystal ball for money leaving the district. That crystal ball works, but the crystal ball for money coming in does not. So this is just really, really irresponsible and I think deceitful. Thank you.
I've got a prepared statement I'm going to read. I'll leave you copies afterwards if you'd like. Two topics this evening. One very briefly that I've had in communication with Superintendent Thompson this afternoon. Open Meetings Act board policy, tonight's meeting, this one in particular. I've been in contact with the Public Access Office of the Open Meetings Act agency in Springfield and with the ISBE today regarding board obligations on open meetings, and I've had some advice back from them on that. I've also read your own policy on videotaping meetings. When I looked at tonight's agenda and saw that it included both open and closed topics, the open topics being this session right now addressing the board, and the second topic being return to open session, it's incongruous with policy not to record the open elements. Returning to open session implies an open session existing. The fact the board hasn't done it before may be because it overlooked that, or perhaps chose to ignore it, or this question hadn't been asked before. So tonight I simply request you to examine the policy and explain to John and Jane Doe why you're not videotaping open elements of any meeting in accordance with the policy. Okay. My second topic deals with the teacher's contract status. First of all, I'm not going to regurgitate what the Daily Herald, the Illinois Policy Institute, other media, residents, state elected officials have said. It's all out there. You probably as much aware of it as I am. What's also out there are the rare comments and the FAQs that you've released in relation to the status of the contract. I'd first of all like to just mention, for the benefit of teachers, please don't misconstrue my comments. We can pay salaries to the extent that we can afford them. However, until the bigger picture of state funding is clearer, please understand we all need to be reasonable and exercise common sense and prudence in determining what we can do. A 10-year contract like the one that has been explained today just does not meet that standard by any reasonable person's standards. In short, here are my issues. The board's refusal or inability to disclose detailed information, to respond timely to FOIA requests, the provision of short answers, what appear to be incomplete statements or incomplete responses to questions, the admission, the evidence of superficial financial analysis on a major element of the budget, and admitted major gaps in contract safeguards like indexing against inflation or right to reopen the contract. We taxpayers have many pockets out of which we pay taxes. Property taxes, state income tax, federal income tax, sales tax. This is a wallet grab in the midst of a major upheaval in state finances and school board funding. Okay, it just is. In addition, I'm concerned that there's deafening silence from the union. If this was an equitable contract, why would they not feel comfortable explaining the equity in it for all stakeholders? The indications of a lack of governance by this board are incredible. Absence of board members at the deal, at the table. Sounds like the lawyers weren't at the table. Still no contract document, yet there's an assertion that the deal is agreed to. I'm not certain how a draft contract gets signed. Certainly in my consulting world, we don't do that. We can't do it. And finally, how the contract negotiation team includes a union leader last year who headed the negotiations with the board to heading up human relations or personnel affairs in the district. And there wasn't even an effort to conduct a reasonable search of highly qualified, experienced people. Deliberate deception is the only conclusion I come to on this, okay? And I believe we need what I call a new Conyers law, caused by the same body, School District 15. So today I asked our state representatives to start the ball rolling on this. We need protection from boards who fail to adhere to their oath of office, in particular the line, "I shall respect taxpayer interests by serving as a faithful protector of the school district's assets." And this legislation that I've asked for is to include, for example, a requirement that any contract of 59 months or more be subjected to a referendum which requires a 2/3 majority vote in favor of it. In conclusion, I believe that the appropriate name for this law is the Chapman-Babcock-Thompson Act. Thank you.
Time they were here. So I just have a few more thoughts. Yesterday I went to Springfield with a couple other moms to talk to lawmakers and go to a Senate hearing. And the mom had prepared her statements ahead of time, had her facts. She's a good, solid, Christian, caring woman. And what happened was they just completely misrepresented what she was trying to say. It was just really incredible. I've been to Springfield numerous times, but never to a hearing before. And it was just really incredible to witness the deliberate deception that these Democrat senators were engaging in. As a Christian, it's just so hard to wrap your head around this in elected officials. And I was thinking more about Springfield, where, you know, people in Illinois, we talk about Mike Madigan, and we all just roll our eyes like, yeah, and you even have your Democrats, you know, running for office saying, yeah, I don't agree with him, you know, we're going to do things different, we're going to get this state on track. And you go to school board meetings, and they're like, oh, well, we don't know what Springfield's going to do, you know, and they act like Madigan isn't in charge. Nothing happens in the House without his permission. Nothing gets voted on without him. And, you know, we just kind of all accept that. And we accept the corruption in Illinois. It just becomes kind of a joke. And it's really pathetic. And, you know, Madigan just, you know, he's so incredibly arrogant, he doesn't, you know, he just thinks he's outside the law. And I really feel like there's a correlation here. Because we have folks who are putting forth a 10-year contract, elected officials that this community, well, 5 of you are elected, 2 are appointed, a 10-year contract when we only do 5-year financial forecasts. That's really incredible to me. And it's a deliberate attempt, obviously, to tie the hands of the next board. And I just don't know how you can sleep at night. I just really don't. I mean, you've gotten all of this detailed information from Scott Hare. I don't need to go through it. But y'all have gotten it. You know how incredibly smart and honest and what a good person he is. And how he cares about everybody. We are not anti-teacher by any stretch of the imagination, no matter what you put in your emails on Friday nights. That has never been the case, never will be the case. We just want an honest negotiation where everybody is considered. That's it. And that's, I guess, all I have to say, except to remind some of you who are newer to the board. And I have copies for you. Again, this was a while ago, but it can't be overstated. It can't be reminded to this community enough what happened in 2007, when we had people running for the board who accepted over $31,000 from the meetings. It's all here, under D2, from the Illinois State Board of Elections. Are we just going to roll our eyes and go, oh yeah, that doesn't matter, because this is Illinois, because it's Cook County, and it's a big fat joke? It's not a joke to us. These are our homes, these are our communities, these are our livelihoods that you are messing with. What you decide here affects us in the private sector. We are trying to pay our bills. We have parents on real fixed incomes without 3% increases to our big fat government pensions every year. We have parents on real fixed incomes. So I just don't know how you can sleep at night.
email was sent to virtually all households within District 15 that have a student currently attending the district schools or have had a student in the district. This email was supposedly sent to inform the public of the occurrences at the last general open board meeting. Having been at this last meeting and having taken the time to address the board, I am here today to clarify some of the misleading statements made to the public in this email. I am quoting the second sentence of paragraph 3 in this email. There is a small but well-organized group in our community that knows how to get attention. They show up at board meetings not to address the board, but to address the media. By no stretch of the imagination is this a true statement. Speaking only for myself, I speak before this board in the hopes that someday my thoughts and concerns for this district will be respected and genuinely be taken into consideration when final decisions are made. Never have I spoken with the hopes of my words getting into the press. Honestly, if a reporter approaches me, I try to ignore them. The next line of this paragraph reads, they write the newspapers, make FOIA requests, and start social media campaigns to have their voices heard. If you give me the email list that you used to let your voice be heard, I'd be happy to use it. Otherwise, don't infer in your emails that there is something inherently wrong with wanting our voice to be heard. The next misleading statement made in this email, quote, you will hear blatant anti-teacher, anti-union sentiment pouring from their mouths. One commenter suggested that teachers could be replaced by computers in the future, unquote. Just to clarify with facts, my personal comment began with me saying, I am asking the community to not be upset with their teachers. They have done nothing wrong. And the gentleman who questioned if a recorded lesson might replace a teacher and questioned if there is a possibility that a law might be passed to allow students to access education from home was simply asking a legitimate question. Technology changing at the pace that it is, there is no way to know what a classroom of 2026 will look like. Don't bury your heads in the sand. There are many children being homeschooled today. What would cause anyone to think that this may not increase in the future? I will openly acknowledge, however, that there was one individual who spoke and did come across very anti-teacher and anti-union. But he was one of 13 people that spoke. The balance of those who spoke were generally addressing the issue of an unprecedented 10-year contract. As to the issue of personal attacks, none occurred. Yes, I did ask if a specific person ever obtained the credentials necessary for the job they are currently in. I did not mention any name or fact that hadn't already been released or documented by the press. No character defamation occurred, so please stop implying to the community that it did. Just for the record, I never did get my answer to my questions. Addressing the issue of heckling that occurred, yes, I, in a very stern, low voice that has a tendency to carry itself a great distance, requested, please start representing the taxpayers. If that is a heckle, so be it. I personally heard no other comments as board members left the facility. Final statement. I quote the email again. Quote, there is no place for personal attacks in a healthy debate. End quote. Again, just to clarify to the general public, this implies that debates occur among board members and taxpayers at this meeting. Never has any board of District 15 in the past 12 years allowed any unformatted, open, honest dialogue or debate to occur between taxpayers and board members. In the future, if you feel a need to clarify what occurred at a board meeting, please simply refer anyone who would like clarification to the District 15 website and ask them to watch the video. A one-sided twist of what occurred is very unprofessional.
Well, some other people mentioned that they don't want to regurgitate, but I'm pretty happy to do that. I think it takes about 6 times of saying the same thing over and over before you actually hear it. I'm here to talk about the 10-year unprecedented contract. The superintendent, I called you on the phone because you said, or you were quoted in the paper or someplace, I'm paraphrasing a little bit here, that most people agreed with you and agreed with the contract. So, because I want a response, I want to know, or if you could, and you have the time, please send me the survey or the study that backs up your statement. In this conversation, these people would be happy to go home. I mean, if everybody disagrees with us, let's get it out there. Let's put out a survey. Let's inform the community on what's actually in this contract. Ms. Babcock, I wrote you a text message, an email, and you responded back quoting the CPI, Consumer Price Index, and a couple other numbers. In a nutshell, what that would mean to the average person is that you voted yes because you can. I don't think that that's really a good answer. Maybe you could rephrase it, write something else, put a more comprehensive answer in the Daily Herald or someplace. Put out another newsletter explaining your position and why you voted yes. Seeing as you are the president of the board, you bear a little bit more responsibility than the rest of these people. The board's fiduciary relationship is with the community, not to exclude them on contracts such as this unprecedented 10-year contract. What you do is you do set a precedent for other school districts, like District 211 and other districts in the area. And your job is to represent, and I'm sure you know it, and I'm regurgitating, is to represent the taxpayer, the majority, like was mentioned here, the people on real fixed incomes, et cetera, the people that are struggling, the people whose homes are not worth now what they were worth in 2008. Your job is to let the community know, not to exclude them from such an important decision as this contract.